Hey there, Internet. Welcome to the Hard On Gear channel, where I discuss and review my used and abused knives and gear. If there's something I can always use more of in my life, it is cold steel knives. I have recently picked up the SR1 Lite from Cold Steel, which is probably the best budget folding knife of all times as far as the tanky take over the world apocalypse knife department goes. I say that because I've already actually handled this and I know how awesome it is. Just so you know, this is an unboxing, but I may have accidentally lost a few videos. I've been doing so well at not doing that, but I might have hit the delete button on some files I didn't mean to. So just going to go through this again, basically explain to you exactly everything that I felt when I unbox this to the best of my ability. But yeah, this is the SR1 Lite, which is about the same size as the Cold Steel Recon 1, but maybe even a little more overbuilt, definitely more tanky, which that says a lot if you ever use a Recon 1, because the Recon 1 is a freaking beast of a knife, which you can do a lot with. But this thing feels like it does actually feel like two Recon 1s stacked up next to each other, and that's pretty much what it is. Super thick blade stock, super thick triad lock. What a freaking meaty triad lock that is. And the handle scales are a little bit more full in their design, not carved out quite as much. I say way thicker. They're not quite as thick, but they do have full steel liners on the inside there and a big hefty back spacer in the back. Definitely a pocket brick. Definitely not something everyone's going to want to carry. Probably not good for gym shorts or sweatpants. I can tell you for sure, definitely not. And out of the package, you're going to want to sand off the pocket clip area like on a lot of Cold Steels. This thing will tear your pants to shreds. You're going to want to shave that down, maybe even loosen the clip up a little bit, but I can tell you this is not going to slip off your pocket once it's clipped on there. You really need to use some force to get it off at first until you do a little bit of sanding, but I did take it off and just take some sandpaper and just sort of that bottom half, gave it a little bit of sanding, and now it's a lot smoother. Still pretty tight, and which is what I want. I don't want this sliding around, but it's not going to make me have to reinforce or buy new pants all the time. So most of the specs are on the box nowadays. Cold Steel, nice, very handy to have. You're going to see a 4-inch blade, which is massive and very capable. About the same size again as your Recon 1, just a tad bit longer actually in the blade length department. Yeah, you've got overall length of 9 3/4. HCR 14 MOV, which if anyone noticed, which we've had this discussion, me and the Joe from Instagram and a couple other folks have been talking about this. The HCR 14 MOV steel is an upgrade from the previous HCR 13, the only difference being 14% chromium versus 13. I'll say it every time. I'm not a steel expert, but I'm pretty sure, right? That's 8% carbon, right? And 14% chromium, if I'm not mistaken, versus the 13%. Now, this is going to be slightly more stain resistant, I suppose, but a very, very minor difference from Cold Steel. Not sure why they switched. HCR 13 is extremely common in a lot of budget knives. HCR 14, not so much. Anyone has any ideas, let me know in the comments. And would you mind hitting the like button for me just to get the video out to more knife folks so they can see this thing pop up in their feed? Cool, appreciate it. And the weight, 6.9 ounces. She's a beast. The Recon 1, what is this, a little over 5, and pretty heavy. Feels light. Feels very light compared to this. This thing even feels heavier than 7 ounces. This could, oh man, just the way the weight's distributed towards the blade, it's very, wow, yeah, right here, yeah, very, very heavy towards the tip. So, okay, we got Grivex, so grivery handles. If you want to get the regular version, this is the light. Not necessarily that it's lighter, although it might be by, I think, half an ounce. Half an ounce. The SR1 Lite is using cheaper materials. The regular version, I think, costs you around 130, 40 bucks American, maybe closer to 170 Canadian. 60 bucks American for this, about 60 American, and around 75, 80 Canadian for the SR1 Lite, which you're getting the HCR 14 MOV steel instead of S35 VN. Again, the 13 MOV on the older Cold Steel SR1 Lite, and then the grivery handles instead of G10, which are still very nice. You can feel that they're cheaper. Grivery does not feel the same as G10. There's no doubt about that. But nonetheless, for the price cut of like pretty much under 100 bucks less for this, you're getting basically the same knife with almost all the same capabilities. A little bit easier to sharpen. The edge isn't going to hold as well. It's not as nice a blade steel. Yeah, and the blade thickness, 4.8 mils. Yeah, that's a big old heavy chunk of steel. So nothing else in the box. Cold Steel just puts their knives in these little bubble wrap sleeves and puts it in the box with the specs, and the warranty information, I believe, is on the back. Yep, there's your warranty stuff, which is a pretty good warranty. It's not like a SE completely no questions asked return thing, but if you want to get it sharpened, send it back to Cold Steel. If there's any manufacturing defaults, they will deal with it, of course, which very slim chance because Cold Steel's quality control is legit. You can also get this in a Tanto version if that's what tickles your fancy. Same for the SR1, the regular version, Tanto, or this clip point. The regular version, I believe, comes in OD green or like an olive green, maybe also in another tan or something like that, but I don't think you can get it in black. If you want the black, you got to go with the light version, at least at this point in 2021. So we've got no liners in here at all, right? On that side of it. Yeah, actually, I said full stainless steel liners earlier. I was incorrect. You're looking at just at the top here. These liners follow the triad lock, but they don't actually go into the center of the knife, which cuts the weight down quite a bit. Not sure if the original SR1 has those or not, but these are just the big, thick, rivery liners in there. Just the triad lock you can see through there in the back. And the back spacer, of course. The clip is huge, a lot thicker than like a smaller Cold Steel pocket clip. There's the Cold Steel Recon 1, and there's the 8015 with a little bit of a thinner spoon clip, but that's a pretty thick old thing on the SR1 Lite, which I will tell you again, you're going to want to sand that because that thing will crank onto your pockets like you won't believe. Full flat grind, like most of Cold Steel's knives nowadays, are rocking a nice full flat. This old Recon one's got the hollow grind. They're now full flat as well. So high saber going down to one single bevel here that you see with the reflection, going down to that secondary bevel, which is your obviously your sharpened surface. So bit of a, what do you call, a false edge here, I guess, at the top. The swedge, I suppose. Yeah, all kinds of fancy terms for this knife stuff. And that is for better penetration for whatever you're stabbing into. So that's handy for that. Even for a thick blade, you're still going to be able to get this into some stuff. It's not going to be nearly as slicey as a lot of other blades, though. If you're doing a lot of slicing or stabbing or anything like that, it's not going to do quite as well as a thinner knife, no doubt. The thumb studs are huge. Same exact ones on the 8015, basically. Very similar, except this one is interchangeable, and this one, oh, I guess that one is as well. But yeah, huge, big old thumb studs, not interchangeable, but removable, I guess. They're ambidextrous, like pretty much most of these Cold Steel knives. Only thing you got to do is switch the pocket clip around, and you're good to go. But they work super well. This knife is super smooth in the action. For a budget knife like this, now it drop shuts, but I mean, that's the weight. The weight of this thing is crazy. I believe it's on Teflon washers, so not phosphor bronze, so womp womp. Not as hard use as I would like. But the Teflon washers in the Recon 1 held up well. There is phosphor bronze as well. I don't know why they put the Teflons in there as a bonus. Just in case they break or something. I don't know. Regardless, this thing's smooth as heck. And the weight allows you to drop shot that thing pretty easy. Just watch, of course, when you do the old triad lock shake, that you don't accidentally guillotine off your finger. So just kind of, you know, as it goes, I almost did something you shouldn't do, which is try and flick open a knife like this, because if it closes on your fingers, it's going to suck. So as you go to triad lock, drop this, or whatever you want to call it, keep that finger high up by the choil, and you're good to go, nice and safe. And then you can let it drop shut or give it a flick, or like I mostly do, just turn it around and close it on my pants or something, and then in the pocket. So size comparisons, while we got them out here, the best size comparisons you're going to find for these, for this knife in particular, are the 8015 and the Recon 1. Pretty good size comparisons. The thickness of the handle of the Scorpion Lock 8015, a little bit closer to the SR1 Lite, but the profile and the length of the Recon 1 might be a little bit closer to the SR1 than the Cold Steel 8015. But kind of a combination of these two, if they maybe had like a really oversized sun or something. Yeah, anyways, weird comparison, but that's what we're looking at. We'll put these off to the side and look at the Rat Model 1 and 2. Wow. Not quite as fidgety or smooth, but still a nice little, not a little knife, but still a nice knife, but little compared to the SR1 Lite. The Rat Model 2 looking especially tiny. Let's haul out some Spydercos, take a look at those in comparison. Let's see the old classic Mannix 2, my favorite folder. Just did a top 5, my current top 5 favorite folding knives of all time. Spoiler alert, you might know which one made it on the top of the list. Check that video out if you want to see. And the Paramilitary 2, which is a little skinnier, but everyone, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people know the Paramilitary 2, and if you have that size comparison in your head, just know that this feels like a lot larger of a knife. Then the paramilitary 2, under that we got the Pacific Salt 2, which is a lot longer of a blade, a lot longer of a handle, a little skinnier, a little lighter, but a little bit closer to the length of the SR1 Lite. So what do I plan on doing with this thing? Well, for one, this is a essential knife for me in this channel, and it has been on the list for a while. I had it on my top 10 folding knives I need to buy list. It was also on my cold steel knives I need to buy list. Those are a couple of videos. You can check those out. I'm sure one of those will be popping up over here in the top right of the screen. But this is a budget king. The SR1 Lite will get you through most hard times, probably better than a lot of expensive knives, just as well as I'm sure any other cold steel will probably do for you. The budget materials are definitely a limiting factor, but as most of us really know, obviously there are differences in steels that we're going to benefit from, but for most of our knife use, especially if you're doing a lot of field sharpening, budget steels aren't that bad. So long as it's decent and it's going to hold an edge better than like a 440A or something real garbage like that, you're going to be okay. So this thing will be something that probably goes, I don't know if it'll go into an emergency bag or something, but this is going to go somewheres where it'd be easily grabbed if I needed to grab one knife. I'm probably going to have a fixed blade and folder on me anyways, but if I wanted an extra one and done, one kind of used for everything, you could clean an animal with this, you could kill an animal with this, obviously difficulty varying on the animal and your skill level and combat and knives and not getting killed by animals. I'm telling you, 20-pound raccoon puts up a hell of a fight. Raccoons aren't nearly as nasty as coyotes and bears. I can't imagine what those fights would be like. I would want to have something like the SR1 Lite on me though, compared to something like the paramilitary 2, which will probably snap off on first contact with a bone. Now that's a little bit crazy, but we're getting back on track here just to say that the SR1 Lite is something I would carry on me in the woods, and I'm in the woods a decent amount for my current job, and as I move into my future career, I will also be looking for handy bushcraft knives. Now this thing's probably a little bit heavy to be carrying on someone's person in the military, infantry, anything like that. Weight does matter, and this is a 7-ounce knife. It's a bit much, but the only downside being the size and the weight, the size being a pro depending on what you're using it for. This thing is a great all-purpose knife that I'll see myself using quite a bit, so I can let you know just how awesome it is for the price, and if this really is what I think it's going to be, which is pretty much the best budget hard use knife you're going to find. But that's a discussion for a different day. If you want to check out some of the other videos, unboxings, full reviews, comparisons, all those different things, check out the playlists and the videos popping up here on the right of your screen. Other than that, if you haven't yet, appreciate you giving the video a like and subscribing and all that good stuff to help support the channel. And we'll see you on the next one, I suppose. Thank you for watching. This is the Hard On Gear channel, signing off.